Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am RDY, and joining me today are
Barack Malkin.
Ethan Lane Miller.
Before we get into this episode's topic, I want to remind our listeners that we're going to be having a live show in Austin at the end of this month. That's right, Barack, Ethan, and I are going to be in the same zip code together for the first time ever. And we will be recording a live episode, and we are inviting you all to join. On Saturday, March 29th, 2025, at Congregation Beth Israel. For more details on this event, go to torahsmash.com/live. Come hang out with us and help us keep Austin nerdy.
I'm so excited to see you guys.
Can't wait. And it was such like a little FOMO knowing that you were in Dallas recently and we did not.
So close. It was so close.
So close. Yeah. So there is an interesting detail, an interesting fact about today's topic that is a first for us. This is a listener suggested topic.
Ooh.
A listener sent me an email. His name is Jesse. I don't have explicit permission to share his name, so I won't use his last name, but he sent me an email suggesting we talk about Havdalah. And I thought, since last episode we talked about Shabbat, this would be the perfect episode to do it.
So that means this is also the very first sequel episode for Torah Smash.
Ooh, it doesn't count when like Isaac Brinjigar-Bialik or Josh Fixler came back. That doesn't count as a sequel.
It's like a returning guest on a sitcom, right? That's what that feels like.
So this is an actual like part two.
Havdalah. Yeah. What's part
like
three? What would part three be? If one was Shabbat,
the rest of the week,
the work week. Right.
So Havdalah, for Jason and anyone else who knows, the word means separation. And it's a ceremony that we hold at the end of Shabbat. After the sun sets, when there are 3 stars in the sky, we start Havdalah. And in better Hebrew pronunciation, it's Havdalah. I will probably vacillate between the two, depending on whether I'm thinking on the Hebrew side or the English side of my brain. But the ceremony is a moment to separate the holiness of Shabbat from the regular of the rest of the week. When I was growing up, we used to call it separating the holy from the profane. And I'm not a fan of using profane because to me that...
No, not in front of the kids.
Yeah, I don't want to use profanity, but it's the same reason. I don't see the rest of the week as profane. I see it as mundane. It's just regular. There's nothing wrong with Sunday through Friday. It's just not Shabbat.
Wait, so me and the other listeners don't have to look it up. What does profane actually mean?
Profane means not respectful of religious practice, irreverent. And because of its relation to the word profanity, I didn't think it was a fitting translation. So I like mundane.
Yeah, I would also agree. Like, I don't think the rest of the week, I guess just the religious practices say, because Friday, Shabbat is so religious, then the rest of the week is not. But even those people who practice more regularly have weekday services. So I don't know why they'd call it so profane, but I guess it's less holy. I'm sure we'll get into it with Havdalah. Great.
No, I kind of felt like letting you roll would be fun.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So the Havdalah ceremony is 4 blessings. And my mother used to say it was her favorite ceremony throughout the entire week of Jewish practice because it was only 5 minutes long. This is akin to like, that was a great sermon because it was so long, said no congregant ever. So it's short. It's within the attention span of just about all of us. And the song is catchy. We use a Debbie Friedman melody ever since I've known Havdalah. And the symbolism, I think, is beautiful. So we start with blessing the wine. Just like we bless wine on Shabbat, we say a blessing over wine to end Shabbat. Then we move on to the spices. So the idea is that you smell the spices and you pass it around so everyone can smell it and have that like sweetness breathed in, because the word in Hebrew for breath, neshima, is linguistically linked to the Hebrew word for soul, neshama. So you take in with your breath, you take it into your soul, and you try and hold on to some of that sweetness for the rest of the week until next Shabbat. And the next symbol is the light. And holding this light is usually a braided candle, which is reminiscent of the braided bread that we started Shabbat with, the challah. And we light this candle, and the light that's on the candle is blessed, and we use it because during Shabbat, you're not supposed to use a candle. You're not supposed to be using light, because lighting a candle is considered work. It's one of the things we're not supposed to do. So you have this candle and you make a little like silhouette with your fingers so you can see the light shining through, and then you look at your fingernails in the light and let the light glint off of your fingernails so that you're both shadowing and reflecting, which are the two ways light is formed on other objects. So using the light in all the ways you can, and then you dunk the candle into the wine and say the blessing for separation. And there's a Kabbalistic teaching that I love, that after you have extinguished the candle in the wine, what's left in that wine goblet is whatever is left of Shabbat. All of the blessings and all of the spirit and all of the holiness that we infuse our Shabbat with is what's left in that glass. So if you like dip just the tip of your finger in and you get a drop of this wine candle amalgamation, and you want to put it on something on your body, that you want to carry the blessings of Shabbat for the rest of the week. So you might want to put it on your eyes so you have Shabbat vision for the rest of the week, or put it in your on your head so you have good Shabbat thoughts for the whole week,
There's some cool
or
superpowers. I've got
yeah,
Shabbat vision.
yeah, Shabbat vision. Give yourself a little of that blessing to hold on to. But I've always liked that teaching, and when I do a Havdalah in a group setting, I will often teach this and then kind of put the cup out and say, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but there's some holiness right there if
But
anybody
there's
wants.
some superpowers in the middle of the circle if anybody is looking for that.
If you if you want the green crystal, it's right here.
Oh, we should do this at the live show because we're doing Havdalah to start.
Okay.
You heard it here.
We've got all the stuff.
We got all the superpowers. We've put Michael's secret stuff, like in Space Jam, RDY's secrets, God's secret stuff.
I like how you went like, let's do no, okay, let's make it RDY. No, wait, even better, God.
It was a quick jump, I think. It was a very, very quick connection.
Super fast. Um, okay, so my question for the two of you is, what are the things that we do as nerds that we want to keep separate from other nerdy activities? Or what are ways that we make things separate as nerds?
Man, I don't want to say that I hate that question, but I have gotten to a point in my life where I don't shy away from my nerdy side in scenarios anymore. I've like fully embraced it. And so my gut reaction is like, no, like it's who I am. So it's going to be in everything that I do. And right, this I was at running this program this weekend, and somebody asked why, like, if we could do something, and I said something along the lines of like, mathematically, that's impossible. Like in a room full of people, like not along. There was nothing mathematical equation about what we were discussing, but that was my response. And so I can't. I will have to think more, and I think you guys will probably swing me into agreeing that there are separate things. But I love when nerddom flows through all elements of my life. So I'm gonna have to think pretty hard about when I want it separated.
And
Well,
this whole question is contrary to the notion of this entire podcast. And I
Yeah.
want to acknowledge that. Ethan pointed that out for me earlier today. I want to acknowledge that
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. So I'm struggling with the question. So I don't have an answer yet. I will let Ethan go.
well, I think Barack, you're taking it in a slightly different way than I am, and maybe that'll help like churn some of the creative thoughts. But I was thinking more micro level, like what are the things in nerddom that I reserve for me versus what are things in nerddom that are for a particular group of friends versus another group of friends. I have occasionally hosted a board game night at my place, and I'm yet to really seriously kind of cross the streams, if you will, of my different friend groups, because their style of gaming is very different. Neither is bad. I happen to enjoy both for very different reasons, but it would change the vibes. And again, not saying it's bad, but I have chosen to intentionally put a separation between some of those groups of people.
I think separating friend groups is something that everyone does, and I don't know that that's particularly like a nerd separation. And yet I do think I separate sometimes my nerdiness out of what I do on the Bema, and sometimes I put it on full display as if I'm wearing underoos.
So I let me hit this from a slightly different angle. Then there are certain video games I will never play with certain people.
Oh yeah.
I have known my best friends for over 20 years now, and I already know what's not going to fly. What's going to be you know what? I need a slightly different group of people, or you know what? I'm going to play this one single player because I know that the other folks they're not going to feel it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Finish your thought.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to stalemate, I'll keep going.
No.
So RDY in May, the Round Rock Express, that's minor league baseball just north of us. They do a Star Wars night, and I tend to invite my friends to it. And on various continuums of I'm here for sports and I'm here for Star Wars, gets the group together. You will be invited.
I'm there for Star Wars.
All right, I think I've got an answer, but I don't love it. Of this term of like separate, here's where I see it. When I go to conventions or to Renaissance fairs, right? I think I could relate them. See, I'm second guessing my what I was going to say, like the queue line to enter or the big ornate castle entrance at the Renaissance fair. Like those are separating the world from the universe I'm entering, right? But that's really entering that space. So that would feel like the cons or the Renaissance fair is Shabbat as you enter into that sacred, holy nerd space. So leaving them doesn't really have much except for like con crud, right? But that's the and that stays with you for a little bit, just like the feeling of
Yeah,
Davos.
it does not like to separate.
so there's no real like they always make you feel super special going into it, and the exit is just sort of either an arrow or a sign that says exit over here. Like there's no re-entry into the real world beyond that. And so I think my answer is a bad one because the space feels different. But that's the
What's
only
interesting is like you're dipping a toe into what my second question was going to be, which
yeah.
is what are the spaces where you wish we ceremonialized the separation in some way, so it didn't just feel like we were walking out of a convention hall into a city street.
Yeah. I wish that conventions and other things like this, like they make it feel awesome going in, and very rarely, aside from a like see you next year poster, maybe, or or I'm trying to think of the sign on the Renaissance Fair. There's something on the back entrance when you're leaving. They have a sign there that essentially like invites you back tomorrow and stuff. Like they assume that you'll be returning again. Because it's every year and it's like weeks and weeks and weeks during the summer. So that would be my answer is the exit sign at a convention or Renaissance fair is the Havdalah for me of like separating the holy / nerd space to the rest of the world. But an exit sign, and it's a seemingly mundane thing, but that maybe I'll look at it a little bit differently now. The next one I go to, be like, look, this is that moment. We're about to step through this door. and enter back into the rest of the week. I think that those spaces refresh me. They give me that, just like Shabbat's supposed to do, that I'm leaving, having the conversations, right? I think those conversations walking out, what did you buy? What things did you see? How awesome was this? Those are the Havdalah blessings, right? As you exit the space. And then the exit sign would be, that light is the candle. And like, we can keep going on what these things are. I think that's the thing that I can identify as a separation of nerd to not nerd. It's the only thing I can think of right now. But I
And,
like
and
it.
and I think that in the Jewish world, we are really good at ceremonializing these separations,
Yeah.
whereas in the nerd world, we could do better. I think about like a video game.
Hmm.
And when the video game is over, when it's the kind of video game where you play it and you beat it, you get credits, and then that's it. If you're lucky, maybe like a new like a cutscene that's going to let you know that the next edition is going to have new drama happening in the sequel. And Marvel movies, very good at it, at
Hmm.
least in the first iteration of the MCU. Those end scenes that kept us all in the theater through the whole credits,
Yeah.
those were good at like saying, you thought this was fun. Wait till next time, which is really what Havdalah is all about. Like, you thought Shabbat was great. It's going to be back next Friday.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'm not loving about my answer, is that Havdalah has this moment of, this is over, but hey, it's going to be here again in a week, right?
Mhm.
Aside, like the Renaissance Fair sign has that of like, hey, we can't wait to see y'all, whatever you're
Y'all. I'm sure
right.
y'all
No,
is
it's
the
not y'all, it's like a year. It's why, right? The old ye English, ye invited back next yeek. The That has that same feeling of Havdalah of like, wow, I can't wait to, like, I think internally I have that, wow, I can't wait for the next convention, right? But there's nothing physical about that space that creates that for me.
So I want to focus on the particular symbols of Havdalah. So wine is the symbol of sanctification. We bless wine at just about every sacred moment because wine is a symbol of sanctity. It also serves the purpose of bringing joy into an occasion because drinking wine makes you feel good, and it also serves the purpose of reminding us that be careful because even too much of a good thing can be bad for you. So
You started talking about this, and Barack immediately reached for his thermos over there.
yeah, his
What's in
drink.
the
What's in
thermos,
there?
Barack?
What is in there?
Wine, what else?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's what happens when you step on a grape in the synagogue. Lets a little wine out. So, as a symbol of sanctification, moderation, and celebration, and that's me paraphrasing Dr. Wendy Mogul, we use it, I believe, because similar to bread, it takes two stages for nature to work on it, and therefore two stages where God works on it. One where the grape is growing on the vine, and one where the juice is fermenting and turning into wine. Both of these things happen while humans step away. And I think that double acting on this product makes it for us holy, or at least, touched by God twice as much as any other produce is. So, what are the things in the nerd world that are sacred and that bring us joy?
oh
D
man.
I got
You guys are
D
like, everything?
D20 dice.
That's such a great symbol. I want you to keep going on that one because I love that as a symbol.
And when it rolls 20, right?
Yeah, it's a huge celebration. It's like the thing you want when it lands on a 20, and yet it's not something that happens very often, which
Yeah.
which is which makes it both a celebration and automatically moderated.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess one of the first things that I thought of was like, models of the Starship Enterprise. There are many different that you can choose from, and yet ask any Trekkie, and they will probably tell you they have a favorite.
Help me understand that the Starship Enterprise changed.
So there are different versions of it. So like the original got blown up, so then they had to make a new one, and then that one eventually got mothballed because it was so old. You get multiple iterations.
The only reason I know there's multiples is because I remember there's a scene where Picard gets very angry and smashes a whole display of
Yes,
Enterprise models, like
Oh,
it behind him. It's the only reason I know
from
there's different ones.
Star Trek First Contact.
Oh, that's why I was like, why
oh, it
do I
was a
know that scene?
movie. Okay, I was like, I thought, oh, okay. Because it's a movie, I've seen that.
Yes.
Right.
But like the other thing that came to mind is like tabletop models, like that you get to build or paint yourself. Like thinking about ritual that goes into it, you get to customize it. It's very personal. Again, I think there's questions on abundance. I know there's some models that are rarer than others, and yeah, that kind of stands out to me too.
I think that's a great example, especially when we're playing tabletop role-playing games. Like you put a lot of time and effort into creating this thing, but you only use it once a week, once a month, and then maybe then only for a few sessions.
I have one that's more of a metaphysical, and it's
Mhm.
just so Ethan, you have a monthly game night. I also have a monthly game night, humble brag. And that I think is a thing that I off and I've joined there's a local gaming group in the town next to me, and I go to that every other week also. And so that is something that happens on a on a regular schedule that I'm constantly looking forward to. When it ends, I text my game group with photos of the games we played saying, can't wait to see you. Here's the next night that we're doing it. And like, see you next month. Like, there's always a look forward when it's over. Yeah.
That's great. It's a good ritual.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to the next symbol, the spices. This is a tricky one because we like really physically take it into our body to hold on to it so that we have a memory of that sweetness to last us the week. So what are the things that we do? I mean, I think what you were saying of taking pictures of things is an interesting way to hold on to
Mhm.
the sweetness of what has transpired, but we're not taking it into our bodies per se.
I have an example that I don't like. So I want to be clear when I say this, this is not something I look forward to be very clear. But man, the smell of gamers in a con weekend is so
Oh,
distinct that
ugh.
you know you're there. But I want to be clear, I do not like it. It is not something I look forward to. I just know it's going to happen. Please
What
wash
is it
yourselves.
about?
Wash
Yeah.
yourselves at your conventions, please. Hygiene, it's very important.
What is it about nerds and not using deodorant?
I don't know, but it happens. That is the only, that's the smell-based nerd culture that I am aware of.
Yeah. That's what they should do to ritualize the end of convention is hand out deodorant.
Sure, right.
Maybe you'll meet people that you're attracted to if you
Uh,
use this stuff.
why wait till the end? It should be like in the welcome bag.
It's true.
I went to a recent local game convention, and they gave out, first time I've ever seen this, nerdy shampoo and conditioner.
Oh, what made it nerdy?
They had a whole branded logo on the front. One of them was like Barbarian Breeze or something. And the other one was like Sorcerer Shampoo. Like it was just they had like cutesy images on the front with like a nerdy like D&D type theme to the wrapping of it. It was yeah, but I
That's
brought that
really
home.
nice.
My youngest just wants to use that nerdy shampoo now. He won't use anything else until it's done.
I would guess that the purpose of them doing that is to prevent the ode to nerd that you just described.
Oh, ode to nerd.
How about you, Ethan? What are the ways that you like take something in to keep it with you till the next time?
I mean, I think some of it is reminding myself to be present in the moment. Um, there's a lot to be said about the current slate of Star Trek TV shows. And I like to have the perspective that it is a privilege that there are a multitude of Star Trek TV shows on right now, some of which I get to complain about. Like, it is a privilege that this is going on currently. There was the dark ages between, the early 2000s and 2017, and there will yet be another set of dark ages for Star Trek, I'm sure. So I think some of it is just some perspective of appreciate what you have, pause and really try and take those moments in from a little bit of like I'm going to take a quick step back perspective and ground myself with where I'm at. A couple years back, friends and I went and saw William Shatner in Austin, and it was great. The guy's nuts, super cool. And I had a moment of like, I will probably never see William Shatner again. Let me just enjoy it. Let me like intentionally be present in this moment. It was so much fun.
That's you bring up a really important point about why to do Havdalah in the first place, because as much as we want it to be Shabbat all the time, that would be detrimental to society. No one would ever do any work. We would just sit around enjoying ourselves, and things would eventually go to rot. And so as great as it is, we have to do it just one day a week and then go back and do the rest of our work throughout the mundane other 6 days.
I thought of a really great answer for spices for this spice question. Really great. And everybody will be able to relate to this one. It is the smell of movie theater popcorn.
Ooh,
That when
that
I
is
am
a great one.
Solid.
when I am entering that space and I can smell, I know that I have entered this holy space, right? And it is very hard for me to go to a movie without movie theater popcorn. Like it doesn't feel like I've completed that ritual without it. Yeah.
Although I have learned the joy of a movie with buffalo cauliflower and a beer. That's also really good.
No, I want my movie theater popcorn, my root beer, and my bunch of crunch. That is the
Wow, you have a ritual.
I do. It's good.
And
It's good
and
stuff.
and I think that that really brings up a tertiary point that the movie theater is a sanctuary. It really is sacred space. It's a time to take, 1.5 to 4 hours of your day to take a break, and everyone in the room, whether there are just a handful of people or whether it's packed shoulder to shoulder, you're all there for the same purpose. There are a set of rules to follow, like, don't talk, don't use your cell phone, and you immerse yourself into the world of the film while you have the things that you have, whether it's popcorn and a particular soda and candy, or whether it's the stuff, you always have to sneak this food item in because they don't sell it, but you have to have it at the movie theater. I used to go to movies all the time with friends who would always get a C's lollipop, and they would each pop the lollipop as the movie was starting, and walking out of the theater, they may or may not be finished with it yet, and maybe they'll toss the stick away, or maybe they'll keep on have enjoying it for a little while longer. But we all have things that we do in that space, and I think it's absolutely sacred space. um Light is the next symbol of Havdalah. What are symbols of light in nerd culture? And for me, the one that I mean, forgive me if I'm jumping on your answer, but for me, the one that always jumps out is lightsabers.
God, oh, yeah, that was
Oh
mine.
man, that is brutal that you did that to him in front of
Yeah, I know.
everybody, right
I
in front
know
of
that.
everybody.
But I know his face. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was done out of love. But they are, I mean, that image of red or blue or green or purple emerging from someone's fist, and that noise that's so iconic that I'm not even going to imitate it right now, that just really, like, this is Star Wars. This is happening.
I think RD Wise falls under the category of I didn't ask how big the room is. I cast fireball. Right? That's a fire-based thing, but it's just not real.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that answer too, Barack.
Yeah, I don't have another light-based, right? Before I claimed the exit sign as the Havdalah light when you're leaving a convention, but I
Or
don't.
leaving the theater. I mean, there's that, that moment, at
Mhm.
least from when you step outside from the like dark theater into the real world where you have to take a pause.
Mm.
I think that works,
Ooh.
Barack.
You've
Yeah.
left the post-credit scene and now you're going down that dark hallway under the stairs back to the main space.
Well,
Mhm.
and I think about the theater I have back in the Dallas area where I grew up. It's pretty dim, and then you like go through the double doors, the crash bars to like open up into the parking lot, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah, if you're going to a daytime movie and your eyes do that like whole squinty adjusting thing where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. It's not, I'm a vampire. It does serve as that like reminder that we're jumping back into the regular world. Light also serves as a bookend for the Shabbat experience because Shabbat starts when you kindle a light and it ends when you extinguish a light. So as a bookend and as a symbol of the divine presence, the candle holds all of this on Havdalah. The reason it symbolizes the divine presence, partly because of the Ner Tamid imagery, but I think more to the point, the idea that unlike other elements that we would share with one another, when we share one element with someone, we have less of it ourselves. So if we have a cup of water and someone takes a sip of our cup of water, we have less. If we have a handful of flour and somebody takes some of our flour, we have less. But if we have a candle and someone has an unlit candle and we touch our candles together, we have the same amount we always had, and they have as much as we have. And that's what happens when we share holiness with one another. And that I think is why fire, light symbolizes God's presence. Because if you
I
share that with people, you don't get less.
I was going to say that I thought of another light option for nerd culture, and it'd be like
Yeah.
the power button on your gaming console.
Oh, that's good.
And when you
I love it.
said when you pass the light, like you have the same amount and everybody's on it, I was like, well, maybe that falls. And this is going to be a shout out to Sparkle Peters, our Jewish gamer friend. I
Hi,
think
Friend of
that
the
Sparkle.
show.
I think that would be like a LAN party, right? Have you guys ever had right where you're all in the same space connected to the same internet cable?
Oh yeah.
So you all have the same amount of internet, even though you each have your own monitor. You're all on that. I think that is the
Well,
equivalent.
it is a series of tubes.
Well, how does that relate to Havdalah?
I have a clip to show you after this.
Okay,
Oh,
is
The
that
internet is a series of tubes.
okay? That's a reference some people are getting.
there's also like if you're all in the same, if you're all plugged into the same LAN network, there's only so much data that can go through it at a time, and you could have less.
Right. So you're saying my example is not a good one.
No, your example is lovely, Barack, and
Oh,
everything
okay.
about you is wonderful. So separation itself is the last thing. And we did talk about it a little in the beginning, but now that we've had a little chance to think through some of the separations in our nerdy lives, what are the ways that we wish we could ceremonialize? Like camp really does it right, I think. At the end of camp, when I was growing up, the last night of camp was a banquet and then a play that the counselors put on and then a little circle where everyone had a candle and everyone who was there for like 3 or 5 years or 8 or 10 years had a special candle that was like a little cooler than other people's candles and you would like go around your cabin circle and say nice things and what you're looking forward to for next year. So it had both that this is the last night of camp feeling and that can't wait till next year feeling. So did you grow up with that experience at camps? And or should I say, Ethan, do you provide that experience for your campers?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are parallels between overnight camp, like you're describing, and day camp. For us at J camps, the Thursday night before the last kind of classic day of camp has been the staff banquet, the staff party, which has some really fun. Some things are always constant, like we'll order in food, we present some awards and gifts, but we also keep things fresh. There's some different sort of things we do, but we always culminate the summer together. And then that following day, that Friday, is when we do our shear show. So every group, does a performance. It's like a song and dance number, and like everybody knows, like this is what you do the last day of camp. So much so that our counselors will start prepping for shear show like the full week prior. Our sessions are 2 weeks, so it'll be like Monday or Tuesday at the start of the session. Like, all right, Sure shows the end of next week. What are we doing, everybody? And it's something you look forward to.
That's cool. And I think in my D&D games, there are often moments where we say, okay, this is the time that we're scheduled to end, so see y'all next week. And that can be, sometimes it's a moment of like they start texting each other. I do think they text each other during the week on a text stream that I'm not on, so they can make plans to help drive me. I think they do that. And now most of them listen, so if they didn't do it before, they'll probably start now. Um, but I think that there are moments that are better ends to a session than others. To either like, you see this big store and it says, "Welcome to the Bazaar of Balthazar," or whatever it is, or, well, it's 6 o'clock, so we should probably finish the round and start again next week. But my very favorite way to end any D&D session is roll initiative. I'll see you next week. That really gets you excited for the next play.
I have a lot of actual play D&D podcasts I listen to that end the episode of one with everybody roll initiative.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's the best. Well, however you are celebrating and separating, I hope that there's more opportunity to recognize the sanctity in the moments that are special so that when they come back again, they're appreciated all that much more. And that when we get together as Jews, when we get together as nerds, when we get together as people who like similar things, whatever our particular passions are, that we make them sacred moments with our own rituals so that we do want to keep them coming back for more.
Yeah, I like that because I've been really trying to be present in those spaces because I love them so much that I do think I have that magical feeling that I take away that other people, right? As Jews, when you love Havdalah, the non-Jews are like, okay, okay. Like you probably don't even often share it, but so when I'm coming home and I go, oh God, I was just I had such a good time at that board game convention. They're like, oh, okay. You
Yeah.
guys played a bunch of board games? That's fine. I feel that right when my game nights happen, when the go to the game cons, the Renaissance fairs, like really in those spaces, feeling this lift of my spirit and my soul. Absolutely.
Amen.
But I want them to all have an exit sign, like some magical exit sign now is making me. This is something that people, hey, if you run a game con or a Renaissance fair or a game night, man, find some way to end the evening special. I don't know how, but do it.
Yeah, ritualize your moments.
Yeah.
That's how we make them sacred.
It's not so much how you're ending the current one, it's how you're starting the next one. Another thing camp does really well. See you next summer.
See you next summer.
Everybody, roll initiative.
That'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion, just like Jesse did. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And why do so many Jews love that Saturday evening ceremony? Because you get a cup of wine, spices, and a candle, all for just a Havdalah.
Austin.
I heard that.
Being raised in Cincinnati by a dad with a really thick Brooklyn accent, you never know what you're going to get.